Nashta Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. We'll continue the 13th chapter. So 13th chapter. So the chapter is titled Dhṛtarāṣṭra Quits Home. I set the context in the last 2 weeks for this chapter. Dhṛtarāṣṭra was inspired, or you can say was instructed by Vidura after he returned from pilgrimage trip. So during the whole world war, or Kurukshetra war, Vidura was visiting various pilgrimage sites, being condemned by Duryodhana. He leaves the home. He was asked to leave the home, and he leaves the home while travels all the places. So as part of that, there are many things that he learns, and then he returns to inspire Dhṛtarāṣṭra to leave home. That was the context for this. So we covered up to I think verse, what was the verse last? 26 verses we covered. Okay. Yeah, so we covered 26 verses, almost completing Vidura's chastisement of Dhṛtarāṣṭra. Vidura chastises Dhṛtarāṣṭra so that he comes to his senses and leaves the home at this old age. He's staying at a place where he was staying under the shelter of Pandavas, whom he had tried to kill in the past life. So that is a very abominable state for him to live. So Vidura clearly tells him to leave the home right away and perfect his life. So that was the instruction. Interestingly, now, after some time, even Narada Muni appears to instruct the same thing in a much deeper way. So we'll cover those verses as well. So we'll start 27th verse. Yeah, let's get started. Yeah, Swakat Parato Veha
Yatsvakat
Jata Nirveda Atmavan
Jata Nirveda
Nirvedatmavan
Hridi Kritva Haram Gehat Harim Gehat
Hridi Kritva
Harigeha
Pravrajet So Narottama.
Pravrajayet Narottama.
Please read.
He is certainly a first-class man who awakens and understands, either by himself or from others, the falsity and misery of this material world, and thus leaves home and depends fully on the personality of Godhead residing within his heart.
So sometimes people understand the misery of this material world by their own endeavors or their own inspiration at certain age, right? Or sometimes some people need push from others, right? In either case, it is good as long as he understands and awakens the need to understand God and at the right age he adopts the renunciation, right? Renouncing home, and depends fully on God, right, within his heart. So such a person is a first class man. Is the instruction of Vidura. Yeah. Want to read, Prabhu? This is important.
Yes, bro. Yes. These are three classes of transcendentalists, namely the Dhira, or the one who is not disturbed by being away from the family association. Second one is the renounced order of life, sannyasi, by frustrated sentiment. And third, a sincere devotee of the Lord, who awakens the God consciousness by hearing and chanting and leaves home, depending completely on the personality of Godhead who resides in his heart. The idea is that the renounced order of life, after a frustrated life of sentiment in the material world, may be the stepping stone on the path of self-realization, but real perfection of the path of liberation is attained when one is practiced to depend fully on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who lives in everyone's heart as Paramatma. One may live in the darkest jungle alone out of home, but steadfast devotee who knows very well that he is not alone.
We are never alone in the material world because Paramatma is with us and he's the best well-wisher and he's the guide. So one never need to be fearful in any situation. And here three classes of transcendence are mentioned. One is Dhira, who is not, who is not disturbed by being away from, family. This is the first step, right? Some level of detachment. Second is a person who is, frustrated with material life and takes to sannyas, renounced order. He understands the misery of the material world. Third is a devotee who, out of love for God, he gives up everything, right? And he understands the position of God. This is the devotee. This is the highest. So in a way, Vidura is telling you at least come to one or two levels. At least out of frustration, get rid of this family business now, because you are old and you're almost dying, but you are still trying to enjoy the comforts of life. So please get rid of it.
One should therefore practice devotional service at home, hearing and chanting the holy name, quality, form, pastimes, entourage, etc. in the association with the pure devotees. And this practice will help one awaken God consciousness in proportion to one's sincerity of purpose.
So one should continue to practice devotion service even at home. Right? That is the best method to awaken attachment to God as well as detachment from everything else. Ato dichim disham yatu.
Ato dichintam disham yatu.
Svairajnata gatir bhavan.
Svairajnata
gatir bhavan.
Itorvak prayasha kala.
Itorva
Shakala.
Pumsam guna vikarshana.
Pumsam
Guna vikarshana.
Yeah, please read.
Please therefore leave for the north immediately, without letting your relatives know, for soon that time will approach which will diminish the good qualities of men.
What is he referring? Any idea? Why is he saying soon that time will come when good qualities of men will diminish? What does that mean? Men or women?
Kali will start.
Yeah. So he's just telling about the forthcoming yuga. And once Kali Yuga comes, there is going to be a change in atmosphere and qualities of people. So better try to finish your self-realization in this lifetime and before even the Kali Yuga begins. So at once leave, don't consider anything, just leave and practice perfection of life. Yeah, I'll read from here. Read it, Prabhu. Kaustubh Prabhu.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. He was advised to leave home before Kali Yuga approached because the atmosphere which was created by Vidura, his valuable instructions on the fact of life, would fade away due to the influence of the age which was fast approaching.
Yeah. All the good instruction will lose value because Kali is a very different age. And it's going to implement immediate, once the power of energy, the new age comes. So immediately you should act.
So Prabhuji, what is the north when it says go to the north? What is north means going to the...
So I also wanted to know, I couldn't find. So he was specifically asking to go in the north direction to, must be some place where he was indirectly indicating to him to go. I couldn't find in the purport.
Badrinath or something.
Yeah, go in the
Got it.
north direction from where he is right now. It must be pointing to some pilgrimage site or something.
Maybe Himalayas.
Yeah, it's not mentioned anywhere in the future verses also, where exactly is referring.
Got it.
Prabhuji, can I ask one
Basically,
question?
leave that place, and move ahead. Yeah, that's what is meaning, intent.
Got it.
Even in Tamil, some Tamil old scriptures, Prabhu, when the kings retire, they say they go north and then they will fast until they leave the body.
Okay, always they say north. Huh?
Yeah. So I would assume it would be either Badrinath, Kasi, or those
Yeah,
locations.
one of the Haris,
Yeah.
locations of Hari.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because a lot of pilgrimage sites are in the north. Yeah, that could be the reason. Maybe also Himalayas, right? Himalayas is one place.
Yeah.
Many people retired there. Yeah. Evam Raja Viduran Jeta
Evam Raja Vidureणां Tena
Prajna Chakshur Odita Ajamidha
Pratnya Chakshur
Prajna
Bodhita
Chakshur
Ajamidha
Achamedha
Chitva Shvesu Snehapasham Dvaditno
Chitva
Sveshu
Sveshu
Snehapashandradinno
Nischakrama Bhartar Sandarshinatwada
Nishkrama
Krama Bhakta Sandarshitadva.
Please read.
Thus Maharaj Dhṛtarāṣṭra, the son of the family of Ajamida,
Ajamida.
firmly convinced by introspective knowledge, Pragya broke at once the strong network of familial affection by his resolute determination. Thus he immediately left home to set out on the path of liberation, as directed by his younger brother Vidura.
So at last, Maharaj Dhritarashtra's, familial bond broke. It takes a while for some people, We hear, right? Sometimes people come to temple, they eat so many plates, and by then they will get convinced after many years sometimes. So similarly, Maharaj Dhritarashtra was instructed by so many people actually until now. to give up family affection to Duryodhana and other brothers, right? He was instructed by Akrura, he was instructed by Lord Krishna to avoid the war and, not to listen to Duryodhana and others. He was advised by many people. Bhishma, even Dronacharya once instructed Dhṛtarāṣṭra about what is going on with his family. Until the attachments were alive, he could not give up. Now they're all dead. And now looks like he finally was convinced helplessly. So he immediately left. He didn't wait, just immediately left home. As directed by his younger brother Vidura. Yeah. So it takes some strong instructions by pure devotees like Vidura, sometimes for us to give up the attachments. Otherwise, we keep on hanging on, silently without telling anybody. So many, attachments we all have. It's very difficult to give up. But powerful instructions can help us get rid of those. Yeah, please read.
The scriptures enjoin, therefore, that one should associate with sadhu only, rejecting all the other kinds of association, and by doing so, one will have ample opportunity to hear the sadhus who can cut to pieces the bonds of illusionary affection in the material world. It is a fact that the material world is a great illusion because everything appears to be tangible reality, but at the next moment evaporates like a dashing foam of the sea or a cloud in the sky. A cloud in the sky undoubtedly appears to be a reality because it rains. And due to heavy rain, so many temporary green things appear. But in the ultimate issue, everything disappears. Namely, the cloud, rain, and green vegetation, all in due course. But the sky remains, and the varieties of sky or luminaries also remain forever. Similarly, the absolute truth, which is compared to the sky, remains eternally, and the temporary cloud-like illusion comes and goes away. Foolish living beings are attracted by the temporary cloud, but intelligent men are more concerned with the eternal sky with all variegatedness.
Yeah. Scriptures, right? So scriptures give that guidance to cut the illusory affection. But we cannot just follow the scripture. We need sadhus who actually follow and can inspire us to actually get rid of the illusory attachments. And then the philosophy behind that is explained here. A cloud in the sky undoubtedly appears to be reality because it rains, and due to rain, so many temporary green things appear, but in the ultimate issue, everything disappears. Namely the cloud, rain, and green vegetation. So everything is temporary in this world. That's what this points to.
Prabhu, what is the family of Ajamit?
Ajamit, yeah, I couldn't find more. I had the same questions as you are. Yeah.
Sorry, Guru.
Maybe it's another name for Kaurava family. That may be a king's name in the in the past. There is no more description in the purport, or even I heard lectures, I couldn't find more.
No.
Everybody was saying Ajamida, that's all.
Yes.
So from here, let's read for translation directly, because these are and then again when Narada Muni comes, we'll read the verses. Yeah, please read. Anybody?
The gentle and the chaste Gandhari, who was the daughter of King Subala of Kandhar, followed her husband, seeing that he was going to the Himalaya mountains, which are the delight of those who have accepted the staff of the renounced order, like fighters who have accepted a good lashing from the enemy. So,
Yeah.
Saurabhini or Gandhari, daughter of King Subala and wife of King Dhṛtarāṣṭra, was ideal as a wife devoted to her husband. The Vedic civilization especially prepares chaste and devoted wives, of whom Gandhari is one amongst many mentioned in history. Lakshmi ji, Sita Devi, was also daughter of great king, but she followed her husband, Lord Ramachandra, into the forest.
Gandhari was a very chaste woman. Even though she was old, she, at that age, it's not easy to follow husband. It is perfectly Vedic to stay back with children. Of course, her own children died. But she still wanted to go on the path that her husband has taken. And even she was so renounced, like she would not even have her eyes while her, even right after marriage, she closes her eyes. She, wraps her eyes just to be not any better than her husband. So she is always following in the footsteps of her husband.
Yeah, Prabhu, here it says Himalayan mountains. So yeah, north.
Himalayan? Where is it?
Yeah, in the translation.
Yeah. Yeah, who's going to Himalayan mountains? Correct. Good. I missed it. Yeah. Yeah, please read.
Maharaja Yudhishthira, whose enemy was never born, performed his daily morning duties by praying, offering fire sacrifice to the sun god, and offering obeisances, grains, cows, land, and gold to the Brahmanas. He then entered the palace to pay respects to the elderly. However, he could not find his uncles or aunt, the daughter of King Subala.
So this shows the daily routine of Maharaj Yudhishthira whenever he wakes up. So he was daily doing prayers, performs a fire sacrifice to the sun god, offering obeisances, grains, cows, land, and gold to the Brahmanas. Every day, charity. And then he entered palace to pay respects to the elderly, right? Because they treated Dhṛtarāṣṭra and Gandhari as their own parents, as good as their parents. So they were, always respected. One can say, they never mistreated them. The Pandavas never ever mistreated Dhṛtarāṣṭra and Gandhari at all. So they would pay respects. But that day, because he suddenly disappeared without any delay, so he couldn't find his uncles or aunt. So he was very distressed. Yeah, please read.
Modern householders are practiced to different modes of life, namely to rise late and then take bed tea without any sort of cleanliness and without any purificatory practices as mentioned above. The household children are taken to practice what the parents practice, and therefore the whole generation glides towards health.
Yeah, we know in today's world, everybody drinks coffee or tea as soon as they wake up. Right? Naturally, the whole family will do the same thing. The parents too, children will do. So that is the current culture of the society.
So, bro, but what it mentions is going towards the hell. That means it's kukarma basically, right? Or,
yeah. because there is
Wow.
no gratitude. The whole idea of prayers, offering obeisances, is expressing one's own, like gratitude, as well as one's understanding one's own position as insignificant, right? So all those things are not there in current culture. Naturally, they think they are the enjoyers, right? They can't.
Yes.
As soon as they wake up, they'll watch TV and see what's going on, drink coffee. They think
Yes.
it's another day to enjoy my life as I wish, right? So that will only lead them to lower life forms, or going to hell as okay. So let's read from here. Now the instructions, the conversation of Yudhishthira Maharaj is coming. Tatra Sanjayam Asinam
Tatra
Tatra Sanjaya
Sanjayam
Asinam
Asinam
Apracho Vidvigna Manasa
Prachodvigmanasa
Gaval Gane Kwa Nastato
Gavalgane Kvanastato
Riddhohinascha Netrayo.
Vriddohinascha Netrayo.
Maharaj Yudhishthira, full of anxiety, turned to Sanjaya, who was sitting there, and said, "O Sanjaya, where is our uncle who is old and blind?"
Sanjaya is secretary for the Dhṛtarāṣṭra. So he turned to Sanjaya, Maharaj Yudhishthira, because he's there still, and so out of anxiety, he asks him, "Where is our uncle who is old and blind?" So he is concerned. Ambacha hataputrartha
Ambacha
Hataputra
yakva gata suhrat
Pitravyakvagata Suprat
apimaya krita pragne
Apimaya Krita Pragne
hatabandhu sabhajaya
Hatabandhu Sabhayaya
asamsamana samalam
Samana Samalam
gangayam dukkitopatat.
Gangayam Dukkito Patat.
So he's now inquiring Sanjaya. Let's see what he's saying. Please read.
Where is my well-wisher, Uncle Vidura and Mother Gandhari, who is very afflicted due to all her sons' demise? My uncle Dhṛtarāṣṭra was also very mortified due to the death of all his sons and grandsons. Undoubtedly, I am very ungrateful. Did he therefore take my offenses very seriously and, along with his wife, drown himself in the Ganges?
Yeah. So he always has this doubt in mind. Everything is because of my own actions, right? Always Yudhishthira Maharaj takes all the responsibility upon him for all the things that has happened during the Kurukshetra war. So he was just speaking like this. Yeah, please read.
Maharaja Yudhishthira was always conscious of the great plight of his uncle Dhṛtarāṣṭra and aunt Gandhari, and therefore he took all possible care of them in their old age and agreed conditions. As a pious man, Maharaj Yudhishthira took into account all his unavoidable misdeeds, and he never thought of the misdeeds of his uncle and company. Dhṛtarāṣṭra had suffered the effects of his own misdeeds by the will of the Lord. But Maharaja Yudhishthira was thinking only of his own unavoidable misdeeds. That is the nature of a good man and devotee of the Lord. A devotee never finds fault with others, but tries to find his own and thus rectify them as far as possible.
That shows Yudhishthira Maharaj's heart. Everyone knows how much Dhṛtarāṣṭra tried to kill Pandavas, or how much he tried to be partial to his own children. However, Yudhishthira Maharaj always thought from, the unavoidable things he had to do, which is actually an, complete orchestration of Lord's plan. But he always considered he is at fault, in spite of being not at all faulty on his side. That is the nature of a devotee. He never thinks others are at fault. Pitari uparate pandav
Pitarate Pando
sarvana suhridashishun
Sarvanam Sardashishun
rakshatam vyasanat yasan nata
Rakshanta Vasanata
pitruyaupa gato ita.
Pitruyo
When my father Pandu fell down and we were all small children, these two uncles gave us protection from all kinds of calamities. They were always our good well-wishers. Alas, where have they gone from here?
See how he is thinking. He is comparing almost Vidura and Dhṛtarāṣṭra to be same. Vidura, of course, he completely was a great well-wisher, and he saved from many incidents like the burning of Lakh House. He informed ahead in time. He informed about Shakuni. So many things he helped Vidura. However, Yudhishthira is such a gentleman. He considers, Dhṛtarāṣṭra also as a great well-wisher. That's his greatness. Right? Suta uvacha
Sutta Vacha
kripaya sneha vaiklavya
Krupaya Sneha Vaiklavya
Suto viraha karshita
Suto vira
Viraha Karshitaha
Atmeshwaram achakshano
Atmaikshvara Chanashano
Pachati pidita.
Patyahati Piditaha.
Please read.
Suta Goswami said, because of compassion and mental agitation, Sanjaya, not having seen his own master, Dhṛtarāṣṭra, was aggrieved and could not properly reply to Maharaja Yudhishthira.
Yeah, Sanjay is even more aggrieved because he is his master. Please read.
Unless one is convinced of better life after renunciation of the present life, one cannot stick to the renounced order of life simply by artificial dress or staying out of the home.
Many people do not consider value in renunciation because they cannot imagine that life will be much, much better after renunciation, right? They only know about the bodily comforts of life, so they cannot see. So Sanjaya is assuming that Dhṛtarāṣṭra must be suffering now, right? It's all there. Suffering is there probably from bodily perspective, but there is a higher purpose for it. So what Prabhupada is saying is, unless one is convinced of a better life after renunciation, one cannot stick to renounced order of life. I mean, this is from the perspective of Dhṛtarāṣṭra also. Yeah, even for us, many times we think, how these people live after renunciation, because we don't have that kind of attitude of renunciation. We are not ready. So we believe, it's a difficult circumstance to, for them, actually, they completely depend on God. And they are always under the shelter of God because they very well have, that connection with the Lord. They are never, disturbed. Those who are able to, completely be convinced about their renunciation. Otherwise, they cannot stick. The easy test is they will come out of it very soon. Right? You cannot stick forever. Vimrijasruni panibhyam
Vimrujja shruni panibhyam
vistabhyatmanamatmana
prabhatma matma
ajatasatrum yuche
ajatasatrum pratyuche
prabhopadau anusmaran.
prabhopadanusmaran.
First, he slowly practiced his mind by intelligence. Pacified his mind by intelligence and wiping away his tears and thinking of the feet of his master. After he began to reply to Maharaja Yudhishthira.
Sanjaya Vacha
Sanjaya Vacha
Naham Veda Vyavasitam
Naham Veda Vyavasitam
Pitrorva Kulanandana
Pitrurva Kulanandana
Gandharyava Mahabaho
Gandharyava Mahabaho
Shitosmi Mahatmabhi.
Vishtosmi.
I can read, Prabhu.
Yes, madam.
Sanjaya said, "My dear descendant of the Kuru dynasty, I have no information of the determination of your two uncles and Gandhari. O king, I have been cheated by those great souls."
I have no information of the determination. So what has happened, the discussion between Vidura and Dhṛtarāṣṭra is unknown to Sanjaya. He was not informed because, and also there was no time that Dhṛtarāṣṭra spent, right? After this conversation, he immediately left as per the previous verse. So Sanjaya was completely unaware of the circumstances and the discussions. And so he says, I have been completely cheated by these great souls. Great souls cheated. So Prabhupada gives a wonderful purport here, comparing, many times in the past how great souls or great devotees have circumvented the regular, social order of life, but ultimately it is meant for the, the cause of devotion service, right? Or ultimate good. So let's read a few examples. He speaks about himself, how he actually had given up his own family, right? Suddenly, without much information to their family, right? So he speaks about other few incidents about, we have seen in the history, like even Sanatana Goswami, how they, gave up ministerships under the king, right? Even Rupa Goswami, who else was like that? There is one more Goswami, right? Raghunath Goswami, yeah, Raghunath Das Goswami. Yeah, let's read. It's a beautiful purport.
Purport: that great souls cheat others may be astonishing to know, but it is a fact that great souls cheat others for a great cause. It is said that Lord Krishna also advised Yudhishthira to tell a lie before Dronacharya, and it was for a great cause. The Lord wanted it, and therefore it was a great cause. Satisfaction of the Lord is the criterion of one who is bona fide, and the highest perfection of life is to satisfy the Lord by one's occupational duty.
Yeah, 1 second. Many times we are in dilemma. What is right? What is wrong? And there are multiple options. And the real the real case is how much will Lord be satisfied? It can be expressed as a how much a devotee is satisfied. We can say in the same way, but that will be the criteria. There could be n number of options before us many times, but the real barometer is how much is either Lord is satisfied or the Guru is satisfied. That is the barometer for us. Go ahead.
That is the verdict. That is the verdict of Gita and Bhagavatam. Dhṛtarāṣṭra and Vidura, followed by Gandhari, did not disclose their determination to Sanjaya, although he was constantly with Dhṛtarāṣṭra as his personal assistant. Sanjaya never thought Dhṛtarāṣṭra could perform any act without consulting him. But Dhṛtarāṣṭra's going away from home was so confidential that it could not be disclosed even to Sanjaya. Sanatan Goswami also cheated the keeper of the prison house while going away to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And similarly, Raghunath Das Goswami also cheated his priest and left home for good to satisfy the Lord. To satisfy the Lord, anything is good, for it is in relation with absolute truth. We also had the same opportunity to cheat the family members and leave home to engage in service of Srimad Bhagavatam. Such cheating was necessary for a great cause. And there is no loss for any party in such transcendental fraud.
Transcendental fraud.
Amazing, Prabhu.
That's why I highlighted everything. Very nice. So, what is good, what is bad, is not just from moral or public know-how. It is ultimately whether we are getting closer to Krishna or not. That is the real question, right? And how do you know what is right that we should do under guidance of a guru, or the instructions of guru? We can clearly identify what is the best course of action in any situation based on the guidance in the scriptures and guru. Right. So it's never that any of these devotees, either Sanatana Goswami or Raghunath Das Goswami or Srila Prabhupada, it's not that they're not considerate of the moral codes and all. They know very well all this, and they are able to see beyond all of that, the ultimate good. That's why it's mentioned in there. Such cheating was necessary for a great cause. They have a higher purpose. In each of these cases, they have a higher purpose. Sanatana Goswami is giving up, the ministership. One can say, hey, all the people of the state of West Bengal would suffer because of this, right? Because such a great leader is gone. But he had a much bigger mission to establish Bhakti Yoga, right? Through writing scriptures and to connect with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, perfect his own life, and also leave legacy for the entire the sampradaya, right? So all of this was done orchestrated by Lord himself in a way. Even Prabhupada, if Prabhupada would not leave home, what will you be doing today? You might be going to a movie instead of hearing the class. All of these are happening, all these temples started, so many things are happening. Now 800 temples in worldwide, right? And there is association, there is service. All of this would not have happened if Prabhupada did not cheat his family. So we can imagine how much contribution there. There is no loss for any party in such transcendental fraud. Absolutely, right?
Prabhuji, but family life, like as a Vaishnavas, If sometimes we may tend to go to temple to attend programs, but we don't sometimes we don't want to do service at home, or sometimes we just say, hey, I just want to go and attend the kirtan and I don't want to do some service here or there. So I'll say, oh, my leg is hurting, hand is hurting, so I'll just go and sit there. So is that a really good cheating, or what is good and bad? Sometimes there's a fine line, right?
So it depends on situation. These are very grave situations, like when Prabhupada
Yes.
left his family.
Yeah.
For him, he's getting old, right? His dilemma is he's getting old. He
Yes.
has the order from his spiritual master unfulfilled yet.
Mhm.
And Gaudiya Vaishnavism is going nowhere. It is, after Saraswati Thakur left, he established 64 temples. But all his disciples only maintained the temples. Those who went to West, they came empty-handed, right? Banu
Yeah.
Maharaj, others. So it was a very obvious reason for Prabhupada to do something drastic,
Hmm.
to fulfill and he had a dream of his guru, wherein he was instructed, heavily to actually take sannyas and preach in the West. So with all this in place, it was very clear for him. For us, it's very different. We should better, fulfill the responsibilities at home and
Yes.
first.
Cheating is only for very, very high costs, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but whatever we signed up, we should definitely, not neglect in terms of service at temple. Right? If we are committed to cleaning pots or whatever, right? Clean temple hall, we should do those things for sure, right? And we should continue our minimum and increase as our capacity allows, without creating chaos at home or anywhere.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you.
as possible. Ata jagama bhagavan
Atha jagama bhagavan
Narada sahatumburu
Narada satumburu
prachuttaya vadayaha
pratyuthaya bhivatyaha
tanujo bhyachayan munim.
sanujobhyachar.
Narada is such a great sage. He appears at the right time at right place. So
Yes.
there is this disastrous moment where Yudhishthira was depressed, Sanjay was confused, nobody knows what happened. Narada Muni appears to dissipate the confusion. Now that when Lord Krishna was there, okay, he took care of Arjuna. When Lord was there, Narada would not appear in any scenarios. You see, before Lord was born, he appeared to, again, when there was very tough time, to to no, actually, just right when Lord was very small, he appears to Kamsa and informs him, hey, your enemy is you need to kill him soon. So he inspires Kamsa to. So again, no, after all of that, again, no, he appears here. He appears in the middle also when Lord was, he was just wanted to see how Lord is taking care of all his families. But now again, whenever there is important circumstance, Narada Muni's presence will be there. I have seen time and again. So let's read this. Please read.
While Sanjay was thus speaking, Sri Narada, the powerful devotee of the Lord, appeared on the scene carrying his tumbaru. Maharaj Yudhishthira and his brother received him properly by getting up from their seats and offering obeisances.
Narada Muni appeared.
Devarshi
is described as Bhagavan here. Yeah, every time he is described. Yeah.
Devashi Narada is described herein as a Bhagavan due to his being the most confidential devotee of the Lord. The Lord and his very confidential devotees are treated on the same level by those who are actually engaged in the loving service of the Lord.
So in whose heart Lord is fully active? Because in Narada, he has a direct communication with Lord all the time. And Paramatma is fully 100% active in his heart. So when he moves and when he comes to a place, Paramatma is so active, it's as good as Paramatma also coming there. So that is why he is considered, as good as Bhagavan. He possesses the potencies because he was so close to God. He is like a personal secretary to president, right? He can change the course of many things because of his close proximity to president. So similarly, Narada is so close that he is treated at the same level as when Narada comes, immediately he is treated as good as Lord comes. Yeah. Continue reading here, Prabhu, a little bit more until here.
Sure. Such a confidential devotee of the Lord are very much dear to the Lord because they travel everywhere to preach the glories of the Lord in different capacities and try their utmost to convert the non-devotees of the Lord into devotees in order to bring them to the platform of sanity.
So whenever there is insanity or confusion, Lord's devotees would step in to help the situation. So now he's going to instruct very powerfully over the next. Yudhishthira will first express his pain and then Narada would clarify immediately. Yudhishthira uvacha.
Yudhishthir uvacha.
Naham veda gatim pritror.
Naham veda gatim pitro.
Bhagavan kwa gatau ita.
Bhagwan gatavita.
Ambavahata putrartha.
Ambavahata putrartha.
Tacha tapasvini.
Vagatacha tapasvini. Maharaj Yudhishthir said, O godly personality, I do not know where my two uncles have gone, nor can I find my ascetic aunt who is grief-stricken by the loss of all her sons.
Yeah. Please read.
As ascetic is never disturbed by all kinds of sufferings, and that makes him strong and determined on the path of spiritual progress, Queen Gandhari is a typical example of ascetic because of her marvelous character in many trying situations.
Gandhari is ascetic. So, yeah. Karnadhara iva pare.
Karnadhara iva pare.
Bhagavan paradarshaka.
Bhagavan paradarshaka.
Atha bhase Bhagavan.
Atha bhashe Bhagavan.
Narado Muni Saptama.
Narado Muni Sattamaha.
Yeah, please read.
You are like a captain of a ship in a great ocean, and you can direct us to our destination. Thus addressed the godly personality Devasri Narada, greatest of the philosopher devotees, began to speak.
Narada Muni is a great spiritual master. Right? So a spiritual master is considered a captain of the ship. So in which the soul is given the right direction. Right? Many times this example is given. Scriptures are the favorable winds. The captain of the ship is spiritual master. So So the jiva has to be guided always by the captain. Yeah. So it's mentioned why Narada Muni visits Pandavas. Please read this.
A pure devotee of the Lord can give us direction towards the other end of
Science.
innocence. Devasri Narada used to visit the palace of Maharashtra Yudhishthira because the Pandavas were all pure devotees of the Lord, and the Devasri was always ready to give them good counsel, whatever needed.
Whenever needed. Yeah. So he's always there to support because they are pure devotees. Devashi Narada was very much interested in supporting them. Narada Uvacha
Narada Uvacha
Ma Kanchana Sucho Rajan
Ma Kanchana Shucho Rajan
Sadishvara Vasham Jagat
Yadishvara Vansha Jagat
Loka Sapala Yasheme
Lokaha Sapala Yasheme
Vahanti Balim Isitu
Vahanti Kalimi Shatitu
Sasamyuana Ti Bhutani
Sasanyunakti Bhutani
Eva Vayunakti Cha.
Sa Eva Vyunakti Cha.
Jad Ishvara Vasham Jagat. That word is significant. Everything is under the control of Lord. It's not under control of you or me. It's not by actions of you or me. It is all happening according to the will of the Lord. Please read.
Sri Narada said, O pious king, do not lament for anyone, for everyone is under the control of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, all living beings and their leaders carry on worship to be well protected. It is He only who brings them together and disperses them.
Everyone worships the Lord, and families come together, and they get dispersed. In the meantime, people get attached, right? Like Sanjaya to Dhṛtarāṣṭra right now. But it's all the arrangement of the Lord. Everybody's the way it works. I mean, I think he'll explain the next verse, so let me not cover that right now. Okay, please read this.
Thus, the constitutional position of the living beings is subordination under the control of the Lord. The foolish living being, especially man, artificially rebels against the laws of Supreme and thus become chastised as an asura or lawbreaker. A living being is placed in a particular position by the order of the Supreme Lord, and he is again shifted from that place by the order of the Supreme Lord or his authorized agents.
So everybody is placed by the order of the Lord. Daivihi Esha Gunamai. Everybody is under the control of the illusion, potency of the Lord. Please read.
Maharaj Dhṛtarāṣṭra was placed in that position according to his past deeds. He had already suffered or enjoyed the benefits accrued to him in the past. But due to his good luck, somehow or the other, he had a good younger brother, Vidura, and by his instruction, he left to achieve salvation by closing all his accounts in the material world. Ordinarily, one cannot change the course of one's due happiness and distress by plan. Everyone has to accept them as they come under the subtle arrangement of Kala or invincible time. There is no use trying to counteract them. The best thing is, therefore, that one should endeavor to achieve salvation, and this prerogative is given only to man because of his developed condition of mental activities and intelligence.
Yeah. Maharaj Dhṛtarāṣṭra, by all his actions, he must be going to hell. But he had one boon, that his brother is a great devotee, right? Vidura. And Vidura instructed so many times, but he never listened. But at the last stage of his life, he listened. That really changed his course of life going forward. So that even though he was so sinful in the past, by listening to Vidura and giving up, he actually was treading now on the right path. Right? So all this arrangement that has happened, Yudhishthira Maharaj, don't think it is because of your own desires and all. It's all the supreme plan of the Lord, and the time is arranging all of these situations. Everyone has to accept them as they come under the subtle arrangement of Kala or invincible time. No one can stop. There is no use trying to counteract them. The best thing is therefore that one should endeavor to achieve salvation. Right? And this prerogative is given only to man because he is qualified for it. Right? So, yeah, so it is Lord who brings people together and disperses. So now the Dhṛtarāṣṭra was dispersed. It's also an arrangement of the Lord. Right? So there is no need for lamentation. One should continue endeavoring towards perfection or achieving salvation.
Disperse is a separation, Prabhu, or leaving this body?
Disperse means separation. Yeah.
Separation from relatives and
Correct. Yeah.
friends.
It could be leaving body also. It can be considered that way. Or separating people.
So they are temporary or permanent?
It could be temporary, permanent. Mainly, I think he's referring to here as permanent dispersion. Who come together as family, who, again, is, see, because everybody carries their own karma, right?
Yes.
In this life, you and me are friends or whatever, based on our karma. But you have your own karma going forward. I have my own path. So come together, and next lifetime we may never see each other. And in the third lifetime, we may never see each other. So for a short time, we all come together. We spend time together. So there is no need for lamentation, crying, and all of this. As long as one is leading towards the right path, going closer to God, there is no need for lamentation. That's what Narada Muni is saying here. Everyone is under the control of Supreme Lord. You, me, everyone. So therefore, all living entities carry. So one must worship the Lord to be well protected, and he only brings people together and disperses. So he is the one who is controlling, who is together, who is dispersed. So we need not be feel lamentation when we lose the connections.
Yes, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, read this purport.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yeah.
Thus, the constitutional position of the living being is subordination under the control of the Lord. The foolish living being, especially man, artificially rebels against the law of the Supreme and thus becomes chastised as an Ashura or lawbreaker. A living being is placed in a particular position by the order of the Supreme Lord, and he is again shifted from that place by the order of the Supreme Lord or his authorized agents.
Yeah.
Maharaja Dhṛtarāṣṭra was placed in that position according to his past deeds. He had already suffered or enjoyed the benefits accrued to him in the past. But due to his good luck, somehow or other, he had a good younger brother, Vidura, and by his instruction, he left to achieve salvation by closing all accounts in the material world. Ordinarily, one cannot change the course of one's due happiness and distress by plan. Everyone has to accept them as they come under the subtle arrangement of kala or invincible time. There is no use trying to counteract them. The best thing is, therefore, that one should endeavor to achieve salvation, and this prerogative is given only to man because of his developed condition of mental activities and intelligence.
Yeah, very nice, Prabhupada. That's why I wanted to read it. Yeah. Yatha gavo nasi protas.
Yatha gavo
Yatha
nasi protas.
nasi protas.
Oh, one Mataji is asking, why did okay, yeah, let's read question. There is a question here. Why did Dhṛtarāṣṭra listen to Vidura at the end? So I mean, he finally come to his senses, I would say that way. Now all the thing, all the good guidance he could not follow in his, before this, but at this time, the Vidura's words pierced his heart, really. That is the duty of a sadhu. He really pierced his heart and immediately gave up his family life. Realized very well, it's high time he had to, be detached and follow renunciation. Is that okay, Mataji? Yatha gavo nasi protas.
Yatha
nasi protas.
Tantyam baddhascha dhamabhi.
Tantyam baddhascha dhamabhi.
Vaktantyam namabhir baddha.
Vaktantram namabhirbadha.
Anti bhavito.
Vahanti
Balimishu.
Yeah.
As a cow bound through the nose by a long rope is conditioned, so also human beings are bound by different Vedic injunctions and are conditioned to obey the orders of the Supreme.
No one can disobey the Lord's orders. Everybody is bound. Just like a cow is bound, right? For example, a cow is tied to a tree with a rope, and the rope is passing through its nose. The cow can walk around a bit here and there. There is some limited freedom. But if it tries to, hey, I want to go away from this, if it just pushes hard, what happens? Its nose will bleed. It will go through severe suffering and it will stop doing any more such activities. So conditioned souls are exactly placed the same way in the material world. And the more they try to enjoy, the more they suffer. And so they're conditioned to obey the orders of the Supreme Lord. Conditioned. They're forced. Right? So in the material world, so there is not much choice. It is better to use the choice to worship Lord and go back to God, instead of trying to enjoy the limited freedom and continue our existence in the material world. Yeah. Yeah. So proper.
The secular state or the godless state allows the citizens to break the laws of God, but restricts them from disobeying the laws of the state. The result is that the people in the general suffer more by breaking the laws of God than by obeying the imperfect laws made by man.
Yeah. So they don't really consider the laws of God. Most constitutions, they don't really consider laws of God. Laws of God, for example, is one must be subservient to God in all his actions, or one must treat other living entities with mercy, for example. Right? So those are never followed. So there will be ugra karma, and that's why there is famine and coronavirus or whatnot, right? So all these are because of man-made actions that are causing such reactions because of the breaking of the laws of God.
So, Prabhu, the one can also say that some Muslim countries or some countries try to follow some scripture partially or something. So,
Yeah,
not sure what do we term them or how do we understand that?
actually, in the Vedic times, Vedas would form the base. Manu Samhita would form the laws governing the people's living. Anything below Vedic standard is not really, considered a very high standard for human living. Manu Samhita was a great guide, for example, right, on how men should lead life. So the scriptures of Yavanas, like Quran and all, they are, I mean, if they follow, but they don't follow properly also, right?
Yes, yes.
They have made convenient for men in these, Muslim countries. So, but something is better than nothing, I would say. But exactly, it depends on what they're following, what they're not following.
How they're following, right? Right. Got it. Yes, yes. The secular state, should I read, Prabhu?
Yeah. So when Vedic standards were followed as as the guiding light, we can see how the kingdoms flourished, like Yudhishthira Maharaj or Lord Rama's kingdom, like some examples of Vedic standards of living. Nature was fully cooperative. People were naturally happy. There are no calamities, right? Everybody is sufficiently rich, satisfied at heart, and ultimately achieving the highest perfection of life. Now, none of that happens in today's world and times, because naturally citizens break the laws of God. Citizens break the laws of God. Naturally, they won't achieve perfection of life. They'll only achieve ugra karma, suffer more and more in the material existence, right? Generally suffer more and more. Yeah. So it's not, doesn't help at all. Yeah. So it's mainly the leaders who should be following the guidance of scriptures, right? If the leader is following scriptural guidance, then it can be even, like monarchy. Monarchy also would be great. But if the same leader is completely against God, monarchy is the worst, even worse than democracy. Right? We can see the Russian, Russian leadership, before the Soviet collapse, all these the human startups, right, where they defined their own ways of ruling the country without following the Vedic kind of guidance, right? Vedic Varnashram dharma. Nothing survived actually for long. Take any system that has come since Vedic times. Vedic systems, like the Varnashrama system, they survived thousands of years. What happened to communism? Within like 50 years, it collapsed. Now, even we see here, democracy is not, making people happy. People are always degrading in their, values, their happiness, divide between poor and rich. So many things, so many problems are, we see in the current society, right? People keep changing the ways they govern themselves, but everything leads to more and more misery. That's why Prahlad Maharaj says, any plans to reduce the pain in the material world only will increase for the pain further. All these attempts are only further going to what do you call, they will only increase our existence in the material world more and more. So the best thing is to simply follow what God has given, the Chaturvarna, and the systems that are given. At least follow Daivi Varnashrama, where dedicate everything for God. Those systems will work forever, right? So any of these other systems that have come, they all failed. They never worked to make people happy. Yeah. Yeah, please read.
If leaders are educated in the laws of God, there is no necessity of makeshift legislative council of aimless men. There is necessity of change in makeshift laws of man, but there is no change in the God-made laws because they are made perfect by all the perfect personality of Godhead.
Yeah, anything that is made by God perfectly works. See how, for example, millions of years ago, he fixed one bulb, sun. Did he change at all? Like we change our
Yes.
home lights in so many ways. There is LED, there is, before that, there's some other thing. We keep on changing our technology, trying to adjust. But whatever God has created, they just work perfectly. We just need to realize and, practice it. Have that faith, whatever is given in Vedas, that is the real thing, that is the best. And if we can follow that, at least in our capacity, to whatever extent we can, that will keep us, that will give real happiness, that will give real satisfaction, that will really help us get us closer to God and achieve perfection of life. So any other makeshift laws of man created laws, they'll only have more defects to be found in the future, right? So many inventions, right? We invented, for example, cars. Now there is pollution problem. So anything that we do to simplify our life, it only created bigger problems in the long run. Yep.
So in the material world, the living beings is still more conditioned until he surrenders unto the Lord by reviving his original state of eternal servitorship.
Yeah. Yeah. So Prabhupada explained how the Maya, the mentality of lording over, is going to increase his suffering, conditional life in the material world. So this is the continuation statement for that. So in the middle world, living being is still more conditioned until he surrenders. Until one surrenders to Lord. Now Dhṛtarāṣṭra didn't surrender to Lord till now. Now he surrendered to the instruction of a pure devotee. Now his course of life changed. So until that happens, one will only continue to suffer or extend his conditional life in the middle world. Yeah. Okay, so we'll stop here. 42. We'll continue. Any questions or any other points you want to add? Anyone?
Prabhuji, one question or point for discussion. So in 5,000 years ago, that overall environment was conducive, like when you have to renounce the life and then go, and like whole culture was there. But like somebody has to do it in this today's time, it is difficult. It will be like in a different, or it could be disturbance to society as well.
Correct. Yeah.
How do we see that?
Yeah, so that is, so I mean, every age is different. In fact, Kali Yuga, there are 5 things prohibited. Yeah, so horse sacrifice, horse sacrifice, taking sannyas is one of them. One is prohibited to take sannyas in Kali Yuga, except for the worship of Lord. That is also mentioned there. So the path recommended for, whatever path is recommended for a age should be possible to be practiced by 90% of population. So that the path that is recommended for us is simply, lead a grihastha life. What do I mean by grihastha life? Is, where God is at the center of your life, right? We don't need to sthane sthitigata, whatever constitutional position you are in, you can continue. However, you have the heart of a renunciant, not a physical renunciation, but the heart of a renunciant, meaning you treat everything in your life as the mercy of God, and you act as a trustee for whatever is given to you in your life. And in that spirit of renunciation, you lead your life without being attached to anything in this world, right? You don't need to change your position. You continue with your current way of life, but with detachment. And at the same time, engage as much as possible in your capacity in the service of the Lord, in whatever way you can, right? As per the needs of the, as per the needs of the services. You can, so we don't need, it's not necessary for us to give up and, go to, renounce your family and go elsewhere, right? So that it's not recommended for Kali Yuga. So it is perfectly all right to fully engage in devotion service and live in a detached spirit, even in a family setting, right? So it is recommended as you advance in age and also advance devotionally, sincerely by practicing your devotion service. One, be engaged in the service of spreading the mission of, the teachings of Lord Krishna. So that is how you can be, engaged in devotion service fully. So we have learned over a period of time. The next thing is for us to share with the rest of the world. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, 61st verse, that there is nobody more dear to him than one who actually spreads this message of Gita, right? Gita, Bhagavatam, any of this, right? So the main thing is to devote our life with our body and mind to Krishna, Krishna's seva. That is more important than external renunciation, right? So those are not necessary at all. If you can do, you can do it, but it's not really required. But what is real measure of your, your advancement or success is how, how much do you live in harmony with Krishna, right? Krishna's teachings, devotion service. That is the real measure. So one cannot say whether a sannyasi is more advanced or a grihastha is more advanced, because it all depends on how much one is closer in his heart to Krishna, right? How much he is aligned in his life to Krishna. It's not by external display or dress or renunciation that one is more advanced. It is by the internal commitment to God, internal attachment to God, that one is really advanced. In fact, nobody knows how close one is to Krishna, right? It's not by the number of slokas one quotes. It's not by so I told this story that happened in the Govardhaniko village. About a lady. Remember? Any of you remember?
Yes, Prabhu. Amazing story. She created the Gunjamala.
Yeah, she made the Gunjamala by the direct instruction of the Lord. So even for a simple lady like her, who is not even reading scriptures or simply serving the temple every day, but Lord was talking to her, and he instructed her to make Gunjamala, right? Govardhanji. So we never know who is more advanced. It's not by position, it's not by knowledge, it's not by what you speak and how you speak. It is the connection with Krishna that really that defines one's advancement. It's not by position or external display.
So can you quickly kind of recap that story, Prabhu? I have not heard.
Yeah. So there was Sri Govardhanji in Govardhanika village. He's a Govardhan Shila. He is actually coming from a family of devotees from Vrindavan. They have, at some point, they wanted the Govardhan eco village to take care of him, Govardhanji. So there was one devotee, his name is, I forgot his name. Yeah. So he takes care of the deity very well. Every day his meditation is just about serving Sri Govardhanji. So he was trying to make an arrangement for Gunjamala. Gunjamala is a special garland that Govardhanji wears. That is his favorite garland. So he was once trying to make an arrangement. He was inspired in one way by the Lord to actually make an arrangement for Gunjamala. He was trying to make an arrangement, and he informed some devotees, and everybody was looking for these gunjas. Gunjas are like some seeds that are suit to make this Gunjamala. They actually grow at a particular time, and you have to pluck them at the right time to make the Gunjamala. And once you pluck, it stays for some time. So he was trying to arrange. He informed some devotees. Everybody was trying. Some time passed. It was not still arranged. One day, one old Mataji who serves in Govardhanika village every day. She cleans all the temple stairs, washes the dishes. So she happened to bring a Gunjamala that she made and gave it to the Pujari. Pujari felt so happy. He thought, okay, somehow this is arranged. I'm happy. He, wore it on the Lord, and he, in a way, he forgot about it, and he told other devotees, "Oh, now it is arranged, so you don't need to worry about it." After a day or two, some devotees said, "Hey, how we tried so hard? It's not easy to find these gunjas. How that Mataji is able to find?" That time, he probably got an idea. Okay, let me check with her, and then he checked with her. The Mataji says, yes, couple of days ago, I got a dream of Lord, wherein Govardhanji actually clearly instructed me to find these gunjas in this place and stitch them and give it, offer it to them. So she just followed the instructions. She went to the place where, she was guided, and she found the gunjas and she made the garland and she offered. So that was the story. And when this happened, like she was so silent. She never spoke about that until the Pujari asked about it. Right. And later on, when Maharaj came, she was she met Maharaj. She was blessed. But it was a revelation, because so many devotees or brahmacharis who dedicated their life, they're all serving Lord, but they were never given that opportunity to directly hear from Govardhanji, right? She had that opportunity. So that Lord is very reciprocating. There are many other stories like that. Yeah, it's so now who is more closer to God? Of course, the brahmacharis are also closer to God, but definitely this lady who is unknown to anyone, who is not in the limelight, whose name also I don't know right now to say. She is definitely, she's already on her way back to Godhead, correct? So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's about the internal development. It's not the external renunciation or how much you know, how much you can speak. That is all secondary. That all could be just, external. May not be any serious internal development. This is real internal law. She must have, a lot of, attachment to the Lord. A lot of purification should have already gone through for her.
Simplicity.
Yeah, she's already on, she has direct connection. The Lord is able to, Lord is comfortable in coming in her dream and expressing her desire, his desire to, serve him in a specific way. That is a big thing, right?
Very nice, Prabhu. So it is, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So these stories,
It's not externals.
it's not at all externals. Yeah. So we don't know who is actually advancing, who is really sincerely connecting to Krishna on a daily basis through his chanting. Every day we have this opportunity to improve ourselves, to get closer to Krishna. The point is, how much are we sincere? How much are we faithful in doing our attempts to get closer to Krishna? We have the opportunity on a daily basis. We need to continue with our faith. Okay, so we'll end the class here. Thank you all very much.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.